Hello and welcome to Chicago State University's Black Media and Entertainment Industry Conference. This four-day event is sponsored by the Department of Communications, Media Arts, and Theater here at Chicago State University. For access to the conference program, please go to csu.edu/CMAT and click on events. CSU will have a full schedule to face-to-face class in the fall. Go to cs.edu for more information and about registration and scholarships. I'm Liefu Jiang, Assistant Professor of Public Relations in the Department of Communications, Media Arts, and Theater at Chicago State University. This is my colleague, Ms. Tarana Hammond, Lecturer in Communications in the Department of CMAT. Hi, Hammond. Hi. We are pleased to be here today with our three guest speakers, Ms. Ashley Atkins, the Vice President of Health of Edelman. Hi, Ms. Atkins. And Ms. Amira Barger, the Senior Vice President of Public Affairs and Public Relations of Olgilvy. Hi, Ms. Barger. And Ms. Bianca Bradford, the Executive Vice President and Account Director of Burnett. Hi, Ms. Bradford. Okay. Ms. Atkins has over 15 years of marketing and communications experience in the for-profit, non-profit, and government sectors. Prior to joining Edelman, she was Vice President of Public Relations at Ogilvy. After many years in social impact space focusing on veteran homelessness, pancreatic cancer, and IBD. She graduated from Emory University in Atlanta. She was also selected to be a California Black Health Network board member and received her DEI certification through Cornell University.
Hi, such a pleasure to meet everyone. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you.
It's, one of the unique things about my role is, having the opportunity to join panels such as this and join colleagues Bianca, Amira, and really participating in community events that help bring more people of color into the field. Because as communications professionals, we know that it's extremely important to have representation in public relations because many people in the field don't look like us. So it is, it's been quite a journey to get here. As they mentioned, I spent the majority of my career in the nonprofit space before going into the agency world. So I had a little bit of a different journey than the rest of our panel members, but I look forward to sharing that with everybody here today. So thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you for joining us. Professor Hammond, you mute yourself. Yeah.
Hi. Oh, so I'm introducing Ms. Barger. Has 15 years of experience in strategic communication and serves as a lead strategic advisor of integrated campaigns that stimulate public action and interest for a portfolio of nationwide clients spanning the healthcare, government, and educational sectors. Since joining Ogilvy in 2019, Amira has worked with various initiatives across clients to help build brands and tell their stories, all with a DEI approach. She also co-leads Ogilvy's North American Black Diversity Advisory Council, working in direct partnership with the CEO, Andy Main. She recently completed the DEI Certificate of Mastery through SDS Global Enterprises and a DEI certification through Cornell University. Impressive.
Thank you for having me and for that wonderful introduction. A pleasure to be here with you all today. I've known Ashley for many years and I'm excited to now be in community with Bianca as well as Professors Jiang and Hammond. I too love the opportunity to get to speak with students and budding or interested professionals in our space. I often get LinkedIn requests from folks, and there's yet to be a time where I haven't turned away a student who has a question or has reached out to me And I'll tell you a little bit more as we get into the questions about my background, but part of why I came to Olgilvy was to help fulfill my purpose. I grew up as a child of ministers in community with people, and I get to work with Ogilvy's government and nonprofit clients to help advance issues that touch everyone's life, whether it's breast cancer, risk mitigation of flooding and fires, like in California where I live, you name it, vaccine adoption and confidence. Those are the things that are really important to me and to the communities that look like me. And I'm proud to do that work with Ogilvy and our clients. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Okay, I will introduce our third guest speaker. Ms. Bradford has worked in advertisement agency for more than 20 years. She currently leads integrated teams across Wingstop, Tarana, and Excellent at Liefu Burnett. She has also partnered on Audi, led award-winning campaigns for Allstate, and has a long history setting strategy for other companies, including McDonald's, General Motors, JCPenney, and the Home Depot. Ms. Bradford is also a vocal advocate for DEI and values the power of mentorship in shaping one's path.
Thank you. Thank you. I am very excited to be here with you guys today, and even more excited that I get to meet new faces in Amira and Ashley. So just pleased that the offer was extended. As we talk more today, excited to share my path into advertising, which was a very non-traditional one, and hopefully inspire you guys to just broaden thinking in terms of the paths that are available to you, which many of us don't know. I am a Chicago native. I actually lived in the South Loop, and during the pandemic, I moved to the South suburbs. So I feel all of my Chicago state peeps out there. And actually through Liefu Burnett, I didn't partner on the campaign, but we had an opportunity to help the team with your branding efforts. So just really excited and honored that I'm able to talk with you guys today. And as was mentioned, mentorship is something that's very near and dear to my heart. It has really helped change the trajectory of my career. So just continue to be a vocal advocate for that. And then even hearing my fellow panelists in terms of everything that they've accomplished in the DE&I space makes me think I need to level up so that I can continue to make impact in that arena as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for all of you joining for us today. And everyone, so today's panel, we will discuss some topics first, and then our guest speakers will share their opinion. And then we will leave left about 15 minutes or so for Q&A. So if you have questions, you can type your question in the chatting area, and Professor Hammond and I will read the questions to the speakers, and they will respond to your question. Okay. Okay, so let's start. So first, the first topic we want to discuss is about our career experience. So how did you enter the industry of PR and advertising? Were you interested in PR advertising when you were in high school or in college? And how did you start your career in these industries? So Ashley, do you want to be the first?
Sure, I'm smiling because Amira is the reason. Amira is largely the reason, so that's why I'm smiling. I actually didn't know that I wanted to go into PR when I was in school. I actually wanted to be a pediatric cardiologist, and then I realized that I did not like biology and did not like blood, and so that was not going to probably work. And I figured out along the way that what I did enjoy was getting to know people and understanding what motivated people. And I really enjoyed the communications piece of my work. And so after school, after I graduated from college, I was a political science major at Emory University. When I came back home to Los Angeles, I started working at Hilton Hotels Corporation in their brand and hotel marketing department. And that is where I really was able to get my first kind of glimpse into this concept of communications and what it meant to really work in the field of like PR and branding and marketing. And I was like, oh, this is fun. And I used that I took that knowledge that I gained and used that and applied it to my work in the nonprofit space. And so throughout my career in the nonprofit world, I always approached my work in the nonprofit sector as though I was working in the for-profit space, always thinking with a communications lens. And so when I was ready to kind of make that transition, luckily I had met Amira throughout my journey and, just kind of followed her career as well. And so I was able to join her at a different agency and really focus my work and my career on in the PR sector. But what I realized is that much of why I like PR is because it speaks to who I am naturally as a person. I enjoy getting to know people. I enjoy understanding what motivates them, but I really enjoy listening and kind of muddling through the muck, if you will. So, I share all of that to say, my career, like I said, I started out being a pediatric cardiologist that I said I wanted to be when I was 10, to absolutely doing something very, very different. So I, for all the students who are listening, it's okay if you don't exactly know what you want to do. Many people know exactly what they want to do from day one, and it turns out that way, and that's fantastic. There are also many people like me who had 4 different majors in college and finally settled on one. So, I think, however you get there, you will get there, but give yourself a little bit of grace and time to explore and just pick up those things, pick up those learnings along the way that will ultimately help you find your place in PR.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. And Amira?
Wonderful. Hi, Ashley. And so for me, I too switched majors. I actually started my undergraduate career as a biology major. Also wanted to be a pediatrician, but a surgeon. And I spent 3 years doing that. So I have 3 years of science credits that I don't always use. I use it a little because I work in healthcare and public health communications now, but I too, my journey shifted over time, and I got my undergraduate degree in marketing eventually because I did switch. But even before that, let's go back to the beginning. So my story, my parents were ministers on this tiny island called Guam in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And how that plays into my journey in strategic comms, we were embedded in community, helping people with everything that they needed. We were taught as kids to live a life of service, focused on helping others with whatever their needs are, and to work on fulfilling a life focused on helping others rather than chasing prestige. And that prestige would come if we naturally focus on service. And so that set the stage for the foundation of how I wanted to live my life and my career. And when I switched my major to marketing during my undergrad work, right after undergrad, I took a job at MLBAM, which is Major League Baseball's advanced media arm. So it's the strategic communications, advertising, and marketing hub. And in the Marcom department, I was responsible for 14 of their 32 teams and connecting them with charitable partnerships in communities. So think Make-A-Wish, Boys and Girls Club, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, nonprofit causes that you might know. And it was through that work that I realized I could use my marketing background, strategic comms, to really impact people socially and help communities of color that look like me, especially the Black community as a Black woman. And so I started taking informational interviews with leaders in the nonprofit field, leaders within the nonprofit communications departments. And I actually ended up spending 14 years as a professional fundraiser and communicator. And so helping organizations and causes reach their varied publics and create mutual benefit by capturing donations of time, donations of money, and even corporate social responsibility programs, which is how Ashley and I came to know each other through the nonprofit field. So anything from food justice to housing justice, prison recidivism, youth aging out of the foster care system, those are all causes that I've helped to advance as a fundraiser. And even now in my work at Olgilvy during doing strategic communications, marketing, and advertising. And I came to Olgilvy through a recruiter who needed someone who specifically had nonprofit and government communications experience for a client that worked in the early childhood development space. So helping kids get into kindergarten and help them get there well and in a way that they were thriving. And so my background in working within communities, understanding hard to reach, hard to count, and marginalized communities historically was really important to the specific job and need that Olgilvy had at the time. So I came and I've been here for a little over 2 years now. My mentor and boss, Misha, is on the line because she's a great support and ally. So she's listening in, and we get to partner together, Misha and I, on causes that impact people socially across the state of California. And by way of that, across the nation, because many ways, as goes California, so goes the nation. So if it's FEMA, the CDC, early childhood education, covered California and health insurance, or vaccine confidence and adoption, what we're experiencing now in the pandemic, those are the kind of causes that relate to government agencies, nonprofits that I get to work on and help Olgilvy advance those things in community. So that's how I came to be a member of Agency World.
Thank you so much. That's really interesting. And Bianca?
Sure. So like my fellow panelists, I probably was a little more lost throughout my high school and the first part of my academic career. And it really wasn't until I happened to walk into an advertising agency to meet a friend of mine for lunch that I discovered my place. And what that, I knew I wanted to do marketing, so that was my concentration. But when I walked into an advertising agency, it felt like home to me. I was, it was this really intoxicating mix of creativity and personality and just people. And I immediately applied for a job back then, this was some 20 years ago, it was at DDB Chicago, and landed in the account management department, which is what I do currently. And the thing that I love about account management is it's called different names at different agencies. So it can be client service, account management, business leadership. But what I love about what I'm able to do is really touch each and every part of the communications journey in some form or fashion. So no, I'm not a creative. I don't actually come up with the ads, but I get to partner with clients, with fellow peers, like my PR partners, my creative partners, my media partners, my strategic partners, to help bring marketing and advertising to life. And that's the part that really I find passion with. Again, I'm a people person, so I love connecting with people. And I love building relationships, both from a consumer standpoint, as well as with my clients from a business standpoint. So just found a really dynamic industry to be able to talk a lot and meet new people on a daily basis.
Okay, thank you. Professor Hammond?
Yes, so I have like it seems to be straightforward question, but it's kind of loaded. So this is the question. What is the difference between PR and advertising? And then I want you to add what kind of specific jobs a PR practitioner needs to do routinely. And anyone can jump right in, whoever wants to take a stab at it.
Go ahead, Bianca.
Yeah, I'll just say, kind of from an advertising and what we really do is for mass and from a paid perspective. So where, there's a significant media budget behind an effort, and we develop the communications for it. I think, my PR professionals can, kind of challenge me, but they help change public opinion, and that can be from an earned perspective, that can be from a corporate standpoint. But really, I create those pesky things that get in between you and your program, the ads that come on the radio. So I try and help consumers become aware, consider my client's product or service, and ultimately buy, engage, or do some sort of act. So that's my role.
Excellent, thank you. So from a PR perspective, like what are some of the things that we do? And I see there's a question in the chat, like do any of you work with established actors? I don't currently, I have worked with some in the past. So what are some of the things that we do? And I'm gonna keep it very high level, but things like crisis management. So if someone says, you know, there's an executive at a company or that says something that's very, you know, widely inappropriate, how does the company respond? There's a whole team of people, and there's usually someone that looks like me or Bianca or Amira sitting somewhere that's crafting the strategy for how to respond to that. So that kind of crisis management. You know, things like corporate reputation. You know, how do we position our companies and our clients in this space? How do they want to show up in this space? What kind of impact do they want to have in this space? So things like that. You know, when you're thinking about, you know, and it all kinds of goes hand in hand. What we sometimes forget is that all of us are the result of PR and branding and marketing. All the choices that we make every single day is because someone is sitting in a room and saying, how do we appeal to this person? How do we appeal to this person? And what do we do if this person does this? And so sometimes we're also, you know, counseling our clients. You know, how do we want to show up if this happens? We're also managing the competition. We're looking at our competitors. Who are their biggest competitors? What are they doing? How do we kind of keep a leg up there? You know, how do we, you know, take them to the next level? So there's a lot that kind of goes into PR, but in general, what you're doing is really thinking about how can you position your client? And sometimes that's a company, sometimes it's a person. And to the person who asked the question about, you know, established actors, I want to be really clear about when it comes to individuals, they are brands. And that is very, very important to remember. Even though you might see an individual on a screen, that is a company. That is a brand. So how someone shows up on the TV screen, they might not necessarily show up that way in their personal life. There's a whole team of people, from branding people to marketing people, from advertising people to PR people, who contribute to how that person shows up in this space. And so in a nutshell, I will say PR folks are the people who kind of shape perception of how a product or person plays in this space. So that is how I would.
Yeah, thank you.
Excellent.
Agreed. I co-sign both those statements from both my colleagues. It is influence, and I too am on the PR side of the earned aspect. And you know, I was doing this. Another way to think about the PR is that mutual benefit, right? Mutually beneficial relationships. I talked about, you know, the branding and the Marcom of nonprofit, right? We're creating mutual benefit for those who are donating philanthropically, those who want to give their time to volunteer. So that's another way to think of it. And I also, because I'm up here in the Bay, I was listening yesterday to Ayesha Curry. Many of you may know her. Her husband, Steph, plays basketball pretty well. And she was speaking to a Senate committee yesterday on behalf of Share Our Strength, which is a national nonprofit brand that helps feed kids, right? Kids who are experiencing hunger. And so that's another aspect of public relations. They're partnering with her and her personal brand and her celebrity status to help influence our Senate members to take some level of action around funding things to make sure kids are fed. So that's another thing we're doing, right? That's mutual benefit. It's helping to create some sort of controlled choice and influence them to take an action and change their behavior in some way. That's most definitely what we do and what public relations can and does often look like across nonprofit or government brands, for example.
Okay, thank you so much. And also, because you mentioned the PR and advertising, so some of our audience may have a question. So they know that in some big companies, they have their own PR team or PR department or advertising department, marketing department. But why they also need to hire a PR agency, marketing agency, and advertisement agency? So what is the difference between a department in the corporate and the agency? Amira, could you please explain it to us?
Yeah, I can start out here, and I'm sure my colleagues can add. But one of the things I think about for why people hire us, an agency, is Oftentimes you're looking for a specific skill set or knowledge base, and people can bring that. When you think about something like customer experience, if you're trying to build an experiential aspect of your brand, an agency can help bring that to you and to your team to amplify what you're already doing, to be an extension. A lot of research, right? There's a component here of understanding the different audiences that you're trying to reach. And an agency can bring really great value and insights from the work that we're doing every day to study behavior change and how to reach different publics. And we can do that big picture analysis of your organization and help you be more dynamic in the way that you're executing your communications, your advertising. And I think another important aspect of what we do on agency side as consultants is that sort of age-old adage, you can't be a prophet in your own land. Sometimes it helps to have us say the thing in the room where it happens and to be the advocate for the needs of your team, the needs of the funding and the programming to help reach your publics with your service or your product, and to just help amplify your brand. So we can be a partner to you, a trusted thought partner, and help create brain trust across your organization and the leaders who are helping you to make decisions.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that explanation makes sense. Okay. Ashley or Bianca, do you want to add something? Okay.
No, I think Mara covered it perfectly.
Okay. Professor Hammond?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. With all of you all being executives, right? We want to pick your brain. So what are some of the qualities that people who work within agencies need to have, such as relationship management, people skills? What are some things that our college students, or even if they're not college students, what can they do to get better at these skills? Bianca.
I mean, I'll start. I think because the agency life is so multifaceted, there really can be a role for any personality type. So someone like me who might be more of an extrovert, I can be more client facing because I enjoy talking. I enjoy building relationships. However, there's just so many opportunities from the arts, from the production, if you have a very analytical mind, you can go into data analytics. So it really depends on your interest, and know that in the communications field and the advertising field, there can be a lane for each and every individual. I think, you don't have to be a certain type to fit into the industry, would be the biggest point. We all can stumble into a career path, but it's using the skills that you have and then identifying the best place for you. I knew that I couldn't go into media because numbers are not my friend. However, for those who have that skill set, that might be the discipline for you. But working with people will be something that is required of any field that you go into, because we all work with many different personality types. But outside of that, I'd say it's pretty wide open, and don't feel that you have to fit a certain mold in order to crack your way into the industry, because it's not true.
Okay, thank you. Amira or Ashley, do you want to add some?
Sure, I would completely agree. I would say besides your basic, your project management, your organization, those kinds of things that are absolutely key. Being, that hustle, I'm not gonna lie, you need to have a certain hustle to keep up. If you enjoy, the same thing every single day and you want, a cookie cutter day, I would say the agency life is not for you. I think all of us require a certain amount, you need to be able to pivot, and I'm a pragmatist. So some days it can be better or worse for me, but I think you really learn the art of the pivot really, 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 really well. But I want to really speak to Bianca's point, because she hit on something that for me, I had to learn later in my career. And that is really the importance of showing up as your whole self. So if I had one piece of advice, what does it take to make it? It takes really knowing who you are and really being able to show up as your entire self. That is what is going to make you the best at your job. One of the reasons that people, the previous question, one of the reasons that people hire agencies is for their depth of experience. Because companies are able to draw on so many different people from, around the country, around the world to work on a particular project. But what really makes you valuable is your lived experience. My experience is different from Bianca's, which is different from Amira's, which is different from everybody on the phone. So figure out what makes you tick. What is your personal story? Where did you come from? Who raised you? Where did you go to school? What are your interests? What movies do you like? Like, I happen to be a basketball fan and a football fan. How does that color your conversation and how you could serve clients? Are you a parent? Are you into child psychology because you are a parent? How does that inform your work if you work on healthcare programs? So really, again, leaning into being concerned less about what they're looking for and being more concerned about who you are and standing in your truth, so that when you show up every single day, you bring your whole self in a way that they can't get it anywhere else. And that, to me, is what will make you the most successful.
That was really wonderful. Okay, thank you. And Amira, do you want to add some comments?
I would say, a skill that is really helpful in this space is really being a good listener who understands how to capture and synthesize information. So much of what we do in agency is we help to shape and define a challenge, right? And then we expand on that challenge and we create some solutions. And so being able to read between the lines of what your clients' true problem or challenges that they're addressing, and being a good listener so you understand, to Ashley's point, who are the people that I need to bring in? What are the skill sets? What are the lived experiences, the different intersections of identity that need to be included to really do the best work and put forward our best foot for our clients and the different publics that they're attempting to reach. So that listening, synthesizing information, and being able to repeat back in a multitude of ways, what is the real challenge we're trying to solve here? Because so often we move forward with tactics without really agreeing on what are we actually trying to create a solution for. And so that's important to have, and that's something that you'll definitely learn in school across a multitude of classes, and it's key for being a strong partner to clients within the agency world.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that. Okay, I see one of our audience asked a question. So where should someone start if you are trying to do a career shift from graphic design to PR or advertising?
I would start by, I guess, kind of applying, and that skill, graphic design, is definitely applicable on my side of the house for sure, and I'm sure on the other lady's side as well. So, taking a look at the opportunities that are available and understanding what you have to give, and applying that in a way that fits the job description that you're going after. So really thinking about what it is that you're going after, and thinking about what you've done and how you can maybe restate that skill so that it fits the job that you're looking into. But we hire graphic designers all the time, and we use them in a multitude of ways. So we've got a department of design at Burnett that does graphic design for a number of clients. And we've also got production designer opportunities. So there's many ways that you can take your skills and twist them slightly to be applicable to the roles that you're going after. But anything in art and design, kind of that's what we do in terms of creating communications to put out into the world.
Okay, thank you. And Amira or Ashley, you want to add some comments?
I would definitely agree with all of that. And if you're someone who, just think about your networks too, right? Part of how I got into this space was someone reached out to me, and then I searched my network for people who understood the PR and advertising space to ask questions and took those informational interviews. That can be a great inroad into the world of agency, as well as whether it's going to a parent or grandparent or a neighbor, like who is within your community and network who knows the space that you can ask questions of, take informational interviews with, and gain those introductions, especially when you're starting out in your career. after high school and college, it can be really helpful to lean into the networks that you have. And there are people who will be more than willing to have conversation with you. Like I said, students especially reach out to me on LinkedIn all the time. And for me, mentorship is huge. That's how I got where I am. And so I will often answer those emails and those outreaches to help people understand how to get into agency, review their resume, you name it. So that can be another powerful thing that you should be looking to do, use your networks.
Yeah, right. Because all of you started the career from some other majors, right? So mentorship, yeah, I agree with that. Mentorship really did make sense to all of you and to all of us, right? So do you want to say talk more about mentorship? What kind of benefits you can gain from the mentorship relationship with a mentor? What is the tips for some students if they if they were just assigned to a mentor, how should they keep the relationship with their mentors?
Yeah, I'll start just because this is one that's near and dear to my heart, as I'm sure with everyone else. But I am, actively probably in 5 to 6 different mentor-mentee relationships at this very moment, including my own. I am still a mentee, and I have a mentor that I speak with on a regular basis. So a part of that is, consistency. Once you find someone that you connect with, and I think connection is another big one, making sure that you feel like you connect with the person that you're meant to have a relationship with. But coming prepared with what is it that you want to get out of the relationship. So as you're navigating your career or opportunities, what are the things that you feel like either you're getting stuck, you need some support, or you need someone to kind of shake you up in terms of your thinking. And then one thing that I really value out of all of my relationships is each time that I speak with someone, I am also learning. So it is a constantly evolving process. I don't come into any relationship assuming that I have all the answers, but I actually just spoke with my mentee yesterday because I'm also a mentor for the Ad Color program. And he mentioned he wanted to go over his goals. And I said, this is perfect timing. I'm also writing my goals. So we'll do this together. So it is a two-way street. But just coming prepared with, the challenges that you're facing, and how we can get the most out of that relationship, and then consistency. The only way that it's truly a relationship is if that engagement happens. And I typically like for that engagement to happen at the mentee's request. So, as much effort as you put into it, that's as much as I'll give to you in return.
Okay, thank you. Okay, everyone, if you have any other questions, you can type it into the chatting area and Professor Hammond and I will read it for you. Okay, and then our speakers will respond to your questions. Let's see whether we have more questions here.
We have one more question.
Oh.
Yeah, just one more question.
Sure.
So I have some of the best students at Chicago State. I've loved all of my students, and they always tend to want to know, how do they prepare for a career? With all this social media, everyone has a Twitter page, everyone has their own social commentary. They have this, they have that. And then, there's pitfalls because everybody is not going to be able to get their dream job as soon as they graduate. So what are some of the things that they can do to prepare for that career jump or their first job? Should they focus on, maybe focusing on themselves and being their own, PR PR practitioner for their own business? I don't know. What do you guys have to say about that? Because, we've seen some of the downfalls with Derek Jackson. He was like a love guru or something. And then all this social media stuff happens when you don't have enough knowledge. What can they do?
So I'm gonna. This is a funny topic. That's why I'm laughing. So I have two quick things to say about that. One, with regards to social media, as a PR person, I know the benefits of it. I've also seen the downsides of it. I have a general rule of thumb: don't put anything out on social media that you wouldn't want to show up in your professional space. That's just a rule of thumb, whether you think it's private or not. I do think it's important to think about your brand. We live in a world right now where everything can go viral very quickly. When social media first became a thing, like I was still in college and it was like 25 schools. Like now it's everywhere. So really be thoughtful about what you post and how you post it. This is the time. Your brand building starts now. Who you are starts now. So be really thoughtful and intentional about how you want to show up in social spaces. I cannot stress that enough. You really just have to decide. The other thing is, how do you prepare for your dream job? Again, I'm going to go back to giving yourself some grace. No one gets their dream job right out of college. We are all still building our careers. We're all still learning. But the best piece of advice I can give you is to take what you need from every single job that you have. One of the best and most important jobs I ever had was when I was first out of college, and I was an assistant, and I was working for like 10 people. That taught me more about project management, anticipating needs, hustle, being organized. Those are lessons I've learned and carried with me to this day. Every single job I've ever had, I've tried to take something that I needed to use it to get to the next level. The last thing I will say is the job that you get that job, but prepare for the job that you want. So you might be an assistant, prepare for the coordinator job. You might be a coordinator, prepare for the manager job. So show up in this space, not for the job and title that you're given, but for the job and title that you want. So, again, it's not easy. Really be mindful that it's not going to happen overnight. And you have to put in work. And so you happen to be talking to 3 women who are at a certain place in their career, but I know we hustled to get here, and it didn't happen overnight. So again, use your team around you, be thoughtful about your brand, and to Amira's point, use your network. And even some of the people on this phone call today, this is your network. Mentorship isn't just about who's older. It is about who's sideways. I have a personal board of directors who've been my friends for many, many years. Who is in your network? Start to build that team for yourself now, so that as you grow in your career, your job might come from LinkedIn, but it also might come from someone who's sitting on this call in 5 years. So, really just be thoughtful again about how you use the tools and the opportunities that come your way. Be intentional.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's see whether we have other questions. One question is, where can we find contact information such as emails? So do you mind to leave your business email in the chatting area?
No problem.
Absolutely. Happy
to. Very directly, yeah, to the chatting area.
Okay, so the next question I see, how effective do you think guerrilla marketing for advertising is in an age of social media? Great question.
Yeah, I mean, I think it still has a role. One thing that I like to remember, we're still people, and people still require some level of human interaction. So while social media definitely has its place, I think there's still place and space for us to connect in other ways as well. And part of that is on the street, it's outside. So I still think it's effective. Now, obviously, that's changed over the last year. So maybe not as much, but I don't think that the pendulum should swing so far so that everything that we do is all about social media. I think all of us as consumers and as marketer need to look at the whole of the individuals that we're trying to impact.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think, part of the draw of guerrilla marketing is that it can be surprising. And I know when it comes to products and experiences, I still like to be surprised, and it certainly catches my attention and is going to make me think about digging deeper to explore, oh, what is that? So I think the surprise element is still something that draws different people and consumers in. So I think it definitely still has a place indeed, and is a part of how people are still looking to interact with products and services and brands.
Okay, thank you. And actually, I have a question. So could you please share your opinion about what are the opportunities and challenges as being people with a diverse background in the industries of PR and advertising nowadays?
Well, I mean, I can start. I think the challenges are similar to those faced in many industries. Unfortunately, advertising and communications is kind of one of the lowest from a diversity standpoint. However, I think now is the time for that to change. And I think we're seeing that in the day and age that we are. And I also think it's incumbent upon those of us who make it into the industry to pull more of us into it and to reach back and broaden the sphere of thinking and impact. One of the things that we continue to preach, the world around us has to reflect those we are trying to talk to, so we are a very multicultural marketplace, and as in the advertising and communication field, we have to be multicultural inside if we want to impact the consumers that we face. So it's a challenge just because there are fewer of us in the industry. However, when you get in there, open the door for more and make sure that your voice and your perspective is heard, so that again, we broaden the landscape and the thinking around the consumer and the marketplace.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, agreed. It really is. We are small but mighty contingent in our sector, and to Bianca's point, it really is about. I was always taught by the elders in my family that wherever I go, you pause, you look back, you straighten out those coattails, and you grab people's hand and put them on, and then you go together. And that's part of our work here, is we have to open doors for one another. And that goes back to, I think, the conversation we're having about sponsorship, mentorship, allyship, and what that looks like. Part of that work is we help one another by opening those doors and helping each other get into the room where it happens and where those conversations are taking place, so that products and services and these brands really represent and speak to our communities, because we are a huge base of consumers. We have power, we have voice, and we are ready to continue taking up space. So it is a challenge, but I am so appreciative to have people like Ashley, who has worked directly with me with an agency and now at another agency, but just being in this space together with one another and having these conversations. It helps to be in community together, so you gain that energy that you need to keep on going and keep on fighting for us together.
Okay, and also I have the last question. Amira, so some of my students once asked me, so they're really interested in PR and advertising, but they think they're less creative. So they do not have the capability to do creative things. So is that a big problem? Can they also start their career in the PR and advertising industry, as your opinion?
Yes, don't believe that lie. We're all creative. It looks different, but we're all creative. Even the type A Virgos like me, we are creatives. We are creative in different ways, right? Part of what we do in this world of marketing and advertising is we draw from other sectors. I had a professor when I was in school who made us keep a journal for 2 semesters long. And there were prompts, things as simple as pause today and observe a process. That process could be turning on the water faucet, right? And part of why she did that was to get us to think about the different creative ways in which things happen, how we can draw ideas from the simplest of things that we experience every day that might spark some sort of idea. And the best ideas often come from very simple beginnings, because they're the most lucrative. So we're all creative. It looks a little different. Being a master Excel sheet creator is creative.
Okay, so
I know I don't have that skill set.
Yeah, I love that. We're all creative.
We're all creative, and it takes one of all of us to make an agency work. If you're in account management, if you're in strategy, there's a role for everyone to play. It just might look a little different, but we all come to the table with creativity. So start there with that positive asset framing. You are creative. You have creative skills.
Okay, thank you.
And your voice is your platform. that is your platform to get those ideas across.
Yes. Okay, I see that the time is up, and all of our guest speakers have left their contact information in the chatting area. Audience, if you have any other questions, you can contact them to ask.
On behalf of everyone at Chicago State, we want to thank you, Ms. Atkins, Ms. Badger, Ms. Barger,
Barger.
say it again for me.
Barger.
Burger. Yes. Okay. Sorry about that. And Ms. Bradford for joining us today. Thank you for your presentations and answers to the students' questions. I believe that our audience are all benefited from your talk about the role of PR in the business world and are all aware how to start their career in this industry. I hope we can invite you again as our keynote speakers in future events.